He is not just living a moment of fame. He is living a phase of definitive consolidation. The field shows professional expansion, strong contracts, strategic alliances, and continued global prominence. 2026 ends well for him. I don't see a decline. I don't see a destructive scandal. I don't see failure. I see growth, but I also see that he is more attentive than he appears. There is vigilance around him. It is not direct persecution. It is necessary care. The higher someone climbs, the more they need to control where they step. Protection has been removed. Alertness has been removed. The need for constant attention during movements has been removed. It is not paranoia. It is prevention. Now let's talk about the part that really matters. A woman from the past has emerged. It is not an affair. It is not someone recent. It is someone who has been in his life before the absolute peak. This woman has never completely left his life. The bond between them was not broken, it was interrupted. What existed there was pride, excessive freedom, and an open relationship. But it was never indifference. There was reconnection, not immediate, not public yet. But there is a resumption. He tried other stories, he lived other exhibitions. But what came out shows that true feeling is linked to the past. And I will be clear. Media relationships associated with him lacked depth. They had strategy, they had exposure, but they lacked roots. What has roots is this woman. She returns stronger, more assertive, less tolerant. She no longer accepts open relationships. She no longer accepts division. She demands commitment, and he agrees. A union is formed before 2031, not hidden, not secret, official. He is not a man to remain uncommitted his whole life. He thinks about legacy, he thinks about structure, and speaking of structure, pregnancy is on the way. Before 2030 there is gestation, but here comes a warning. It's not impossibility, it's not a forewarned tragedy, it's caution. The field shows a need for greater protection in the first pregnancy. There is a risk of loss if there is no attention. After that, stability. I see more than one child throughout life. I see a desire to build a solid family. Now comes the part that requires maturity to hear. There's a risk of an accident. I don't see a shooting. I don't see an attack. I don't see direct violence. I see an accident. It could involve a car. It could involve a plane. I don't see a fatal fall right now. I see a warning before 2032. It's different. The warning serves to prevent. He already protects himself, but he needs to maintain discipline in movements. It's not fear, it's a survival strategy. 2026 ends with him strong, in the spotlight, consolidated, emotionally still in transition, but moving towards a definitive structure. And there's more. There's also envy from behind the scenes. He's not a fan. He's not the public. It's a professional environment. He needs to continue selecting well who enters the inner circle. Now keep this.
He will continue to be the talk of the town, but not for scandal, for growth. He is the only one of his generation who remains stable, while others fluctuate. This is not luck. It is strategic intelligence. 2026 is a year of expansion. 2027 begins the phase of family consolidation. By 2030, we see a formed structure, and before 2031, we see an official alliance. The return of the past is real. The pregnancy is real. The marriage is real. The relocation alert is real. And he ends this cycle stronger than he entered. After the first stabilized pregnancy, I see the second child with more tranquility. He will have more than one child. And he changes after he becomes a father. There is a change in posture, there is less unnecessary exposure, there is greater protection of the family. Now I need to talk about the most delicate point. There is displacement with risk. It is not a stage, it is not an event, it is a journey. The feed shows rapid movement, travel, haste, or displacement in a tight schedule. The risk is linked to transportation. It could be a car on the road, it could be a plane. There is no sabotage. There is failure or circumstance. But attention, I do not see the end of a cycle now. I see a point of tension that can be avoided if there is discipline. He needs to control the team, schedules, and logistics. Now, another important thing. There is an attempt at the approach of an opportunistic woman when he reconnects with the ex. There is provocative exposure from someone trying to generate jealousy or media attention. But it does not hold. The return to the past is stronger than any new attempt. And here is something that few people notice. He chooses stability. He gets tired of instability. He leaves behind the exhaustion of empty relationships. He leaves behind the desire for structure. 2026 ends strong. 2027 begins an emotional turning point. 2028 consolidates relationships. By 2030, a family is formed. And by 2032, he needs to be extra careful with relocations. It's not to generate fear, it's to generate strategy. He doesn't fall now, but he needs to act with intelligence. I see an attempt at error, poor management, or a poorly explained agreement. If he reviews contracts frequently, he avoids problems. Now, public image. A reputation test comes out. Controversy may arise involving an old comment, an old video, a distorted interpretation. But I don't see a definitive cancellation. I see a momentary attack. I see noise, but I see a quick recovery. He has a strong base. Now an important detail. Physical wear and tear comes out. It's not a serious illness, but it's excess. Tight schedule, constant pressure, little rest. If he continues to ignore signs of exhaustion, he may have a brief forced break between 2028 and 2029. Nothing fatal, but a necessary pause. Now I return to the most sensitive point. The risk of displacement appears again. It's not an isolated event. A repeated alert comes out. He needs to reduce haste. Reduce improvised displacement. Avoid last-minute decisions while traveling. The greater risk is between 2029 and 2032. But I reinforce, a warning comes out. A definitive end doesn't come now. Now, another important piece of information. There's a break with someone from the past, professionally. It could be a producer, it could be a businessman, it could be an old partnership. I don't see intense public fights. I see strategic distancing. He starts to better filter who is around him. And here's something interesting. Maturity comes in. He stops reacting impulsively. He begins to calculate. Between 2027 and 2030, he enters the most strategic phase of his career. Less empty exposure, more calculated movement. He doesn't fall, he evolves. But he needs to control the team, review contracts, take care of his health, reduce risky travel. If he does this, he will navigate the cycle of tension without serious harm. Now I close the cycle. Until 2035, it does not lose relevance. Out goes permanence, out goes adaptation, out goes reinvention. It does not get stuck in the same musical format. It changes language when it feels the audience starting to saturate. It does not fall because it understands timing. Between 2026 and 2028 is maximum expansion. Between 2028 and 2030 is consolidation. Between 2030 and 2033 is a strategic phase of stability. It does not disappear, it matures. Now, about the marriage. The union that appears is not fragile, it is structured. Once it is official, I do not see a quick separation. I see long permanence. This woman does not come in to be a passenger. She comes in to be the foundation. She influences decisions. She participates in important choices. She helps organize personal and financial life. He becomes less impulsive after starting a family. About the children. The first requires more attention. After this initial phase passes, I see stable structure. I see at least 2 children. I see him more reserved after becoming a father. I see intense protection of the children's image. Now, the final point about the alert. The period of greatest attention is between 2029 and 2032. After that, the risk decreases. I do not see an early end within this cycle until 2035, but he needs to navigate the period of displacements with discipline. Avoid excessive haste. Avoid impromptu trips. Avoid blindly trusting logistics. If he acts strategically, he will come through intact. Now about money until 2035. We see multiplied assets. We see investment outside of music. We see solid diversification. He does not end up dependent only on the stage. I see a brand, I see parallel businesses, I see a well-structured financial setup. Now, public image until 2035. We see lightwear. We see occasional controversy, but nothing that destroys a career. He has a strong foundation. He has a consolidated audience. He is not a passing trend. Until 2035, he remains a reference. Now, one last important piece of information. We see a change in spiritual posture. He becomes more reserved, less displayed, more selective. He understands that stability is worth more than adrenaline. Summarizing the complete cycle. 2026 – Expansion and consolidation. 2027-2030 – Family structure forms. Before 2031 – Official marriage. Before 2030 – First pregnancy requiring care. 2029-2032 – Period of attention in relocations. By 2035, professional and financial stability. He does not fall into this cycle. He navigates through it with a posture adjustment. This is the conclusion. If you want, I can now adjust to make it even more intense. Add political or social forecasts. Insert strategic calls for club and mandala. Or turn everything into a finalized script ready for recording with pauses and emphasis.